We'd like to thank our anonymous sponsor this week for dedicating the drasha in honor of Dr. Mark Katz and his committee for their diligent efforts in searching for our new assistant rabbi. A big yasher koach to Mark and each and every member of the committee. Thank you to them, and thank you to our anonymous sponsor. I also want to just bring to your attention, I'm sure many of you have already become aware, but there is a very special community initiative to facilitate Megillah reading for people not comfortable coming into shuls. We're very grateful to Saul Singer, Max Rudman, and Aaron Tromkov all for working on organizing this. But if anyone is able to read Megillah, it would be outside. If anyone is able to read Megillah and is available on either Purim night or Purim day, please make every effort to contact Saul and let him know that you're available. It's a very special mitzvah. Megillah is always a special mitzvah, but the idea of people working so hard to make sure that everybody's covered is really a special thing and extremely appropriate for Purim. Again, yasher koach to all the people working on that endeavor and to all the people volunteering to read. Recently, we experienced a number of significant losses from people in unique positions of leadership among the Jewish people. Of course, over these months of COVID, a number of members of our people have died, some of them very famous, some of them not famous at all, many of them special, with the possible exception of one other time. I haven't dedicated my remarks in this forum to discussing people who passed away. But I think we have to make a special exception this week. Who am I to say who is worthy of recognizing in this forum, who's not worthy of recognizing in this forum? And that's really the primary reason I haven't wanted to go there. But I hope you'll agree with me that we as a community need to reflect on the tremendous life and accomplishments of Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. I do want to note that in the past week there was the passing of 3 distinguished Rosh Yeshiva in Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Shulman David Soloveitchik passed away. The Rosh Yeshiva of one of the Brisk Yeshivos, Rav Yitzchak Shiner, passed away. The Rosh Yeshiva of Kamenetz, and Rav Avidan, a past Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Shalavim, passed away. Very few people in our community, some have, but very few people in our community have ever learned in Brisk or Kamenetz. It's important to note that these are some of the most major yeshivos in Israel and indeed the world. And when a person has such a level of responsibility, even if none of us have studied in that yeshiva, we as a Torah nation have to note it. Of course, many from our community have studied in Shalavim over the years, and many of us are much more familiar with Shalavim as one of the primary yeshivot tester over the years, and certainly one of the primary yeshivot tester that so openly holds and welcomes Americans to its program. All of these are significant losses. But I think it behooves us as a community to reflect on a small aspect of the life of Rabbi Twersky. I'm sure many of you are aware, but just to give a very broad profile, very brief profile, Rabbi Twersky grew up and was raised in a rabbinic family. By his own assessment, Rabbi Twersky was assuming that he would enter the rabbinate like so many of his relatives, like his father, and he indeed started down that path. But ultimately he decided to go into psychology. And it's essential to note, Rabbi Twersky has put out so many svarim and books that have shared so much Torah thought with the Jewish people, and have shared so much perspective on psychology, and have shared so much perspective on the mingling of psychology and Torah. But it's essential for us to recognize that Rabbi Twersky was an absolute trailblazer in regard to the American Orthodox world, and by extension, the entire Orthodox world, connecting to issues that are important in mental health. Rabbi Twersky, through his own scholarship, his own piety, and so much of his distinguished family history, had a little bit of a clearer access to impact traditional Jewish thought in our times. He, of course, was more than just a scholar who happened to be a psychologist. His insight and brilliance in the field of mental health has been a tremendous contribution, not just to the Jewish world of mental health, but the world of mental health. I would like to highlight what humbly I think is the area of the Orthodox community's understanding of mental health and the struggles associated with mental health. I think his greatest accomplishment in that regard has to do with the world of addiction. Decades ago, the entire world, I'm not sure how well the average person on the street understood addiction decades ago compared to the understanding today, but certainly the Orthodox Jewish world. If a person was drinking too much and because of that was not acting as a productive member of society, was not conducting him or herself in a manner conducive to appropriate religious norms, the standard thing would be to shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, they're good for nothing. Rabbi Twersky gave us a wholly different understanding. And Rabbi Twersky, along with others, helped us to understand that addiction is an illness like so many other illnesses. And A, people can be helped. And B, the fact that a person is in the clutches of addiction doesn't mean they're a bad person. Doesn't mean they don't want to be productive. Doesn't mean they don't want to be frum. It means that they're in the clutches of addiction. Of course, a related point is Rabbi Twersky educated our very broad and diverse community in the dangers of exposing ourselves to certain areas to which addiction can connect and hold one, and flags to look out to for ourselves, flags to look out to for others that we might be helping, hopefully. It's simply remarkable if we were to ask ourselves, where would our society be today, particularly the Jewish community? Where would we be today if not for this one human being? Think of how many people would have been in addiction and not have recovered. Think of how many people might even have recovered, but would have seen the Orthodox Jewish world as so alien to their challenges and so tone deaf to their struggles that they might have recovered and become healthy people yet again, but having no interest in the Jewish world or Jewish observance. This basic idea should act as a tremendous inspiration to each and every one of us to reinforce the belief that one person can truly change the world. We talk about this a lot in one way or another, but do we really believe it? This was one human being, granted, an extremely talented and brilliant human being, a broad person, but it was one human being. And look what this person accomplished. Look what this person did. Amazing. Simply amazing. And to believe, whether it be that I have some idea or you have some idea about how to make the community better or my family better or the the nation better, to just do something about it. And it doesn't have to be that it's going to change the world. It could be it changes me and you. And let's see where it goes afterwards. And not only to believe in my capacity to do something, or in your capacity to do something, but for all of us to believe that there are people out there that can do tremendous things. Even if it's not me. Even if it's someone who comes to me with an idea and I've never heard something like that before. And I have a little voice inside of me that says, oh, that's so far-fetched. Who needs it? Let me just discourage the person from that ridiculous idea. Or the very point of believing in people. Who knows? Who knows what child wandering around the streets of Kemp Mill today, hanging around in shul at Kiddush, God willing, once we get back to normal, has these great abilities and similar great abilities inside of them, if that only, whether it be the parents, whether it be the friends, whether it be the relatives, nurture the child, whether it be we as a community are supportive and warm, one never knows. And that really leads me to my second point, that I think, as a schus for Rabbi Twersky's very special neshama, it behooves us all to reflect on for just a few moments today. And that is that whether or not, I don't know enough about Rabbi Twersky to know if this was his focus or just a result of his beautiful work, but the bottom line is that if I meet someone today who shares with me that he or she is struggling with addiction, and believe you me, there are people in our community that are, I look at the person and I say to myself, this is a beautiful human being that has certain struggles. And I have struggles in my own life, and you probably have struggles in your own life. This is another type of struggle. But the same respect and regard that I have for everybody else that I meet, and a person who tells me that they have a learning disability, and a person who tells me they have a medical challenge, and I have to treat this person the same way, because that's the reality. I shouldn't look at this person any differently than I look at anyone else. It merely is a person with a different type of struggle and a different type of challenge, and one that I'm so glad I don't have to grapple with in my life, because I don't know if I would have the strength to address it as these people do, to come to terms with it as these people do. A remarkable thing. But what that means is that one of Rabbi Twersky's accomplishments for a simple guy like me is when I see someone who clearly is dealing with a different deck of cards than I was dealt in life, I don't look at the fact that they're dealing with a different deck and look down at them or exclude them. I merely see it as a different set of challenges. That's not only true for addiction. That's true for each and every one of us. So thank God we have a greater appreciation for addiction today. And when we hear that word, hopefully all of us, but if not all of us, the vast majority of us, accept it and work with it. And if there's a person that we meet that seems off in some way, and no one tells us the word addiction, and they don't struggle with an addiction, but they struggle with something else. They struggle because they have a challenging past. They struggle because they have a very difficult life situation that they're enduring right now. They struggle because of different genetic aspects, different hidden disabilities that I don't know about and they might not even know about. the list goes on and on and on. If we can do it for addiction, that's a lesson for everything in life. Every neshama, every soul in Klal Yisrael is beautiful. Every soul in this world is beautiful. Every human being is beautiful. But especially all members of the Jewish people. We're all beautiful. We're all special. We all have great, great potential. This is the week of Parshas Yisro, of the giving of the Torah. Klal Yisrael was at Har Sinai. It wasn't the top 1%. It wasn't the rabbis. It wasn't the top 99%, and excluding the last. Everybody was there. Because that's the Jewish perspective towards the soul. We're all great. We're just at different points on the line. And by the way, the definition of greatness is growth. And so, those are my 2 points that hopefully it's in some way somewhat of an appropriate honor to Rabbi Twersky's very special life, remarkable life. A, to reflect on what one person can do, and B, we're the vast majority of us don't have his brilliance, don't have his talents, and we'll never do anything like what he did. But at least to take one small page from the book, and that is to keep on. I mean, when you really boil it down, this is one of the basic things that he shared with the world, a deeper understanding of other people's struggles. And by the way, there's many other issues that he shed, that he illuminated for the broader public. But when I see someone who's acting in a different way or seems different, to take as a given that there's a beautiful soul in there, and they must be dealing with a challenge. And what it is, I don't know. But the one thing I do know is I have to treat that soul and that human being with great honor and great belief in that individual's potential to grow. And maybe I can help that person along their journey. Have a wonderful Shabbos.